The best way to get rich. Why do you think everyone wanted to work on Wall Street, guys? Can you sell? Do you want to know why? One of the reasons why the 1% is growing so fast. This is something nobody's going to tell you, but I'm gonna get there. All right, let's get to this real quick. The best way to get rich from the late 80s to the early 2000s. Why do you think everyone wanted to work on Wall Street, guys? Why do you think everyone wanted to work on Wall Street? Nobody wants to work on Wall Street now. If you want to work on Wall Street, you're sick in the head or you hate yourself. That's it. You're going to get way richer so many other places. But in the 80s to 2000s, everybody wanted to go to Wall Street because of commissions, okay? Because it was the Wild West. You just went from pensions, okay, which is what every company had, all right? Basically, you were investing in the company and their pensions before. And there was a small little bit of 401ks, which were used by CEOs and rich people as a tax, as a way of bringing their taxes down. It was like, hey man, just dump a bunch of money in this thing called a 401k. It's a tax write-off, and then we'll just add it down the line, and then you can switch it up for losses down the, and don't worry about it. It is the way, right? And then there was the Wild West, okay? And this is when companies came off pensions and started offering 401k because they realized they could save a whole bunch of fucking money from this. But this was so new that they didn't have all these regulations in line. So what happened is you had to pay, we've already did the whole video on it, but you'd have to pay up to 10% commission, sometimes 20%. And then on top of that, you would have to pay the management fee. And that could be 4% per year, regardless of whatever. And then if you sold, there was also a commission and a fee on the back end, right? So let's say that you were getting off of pension, you went into a 401k, or you had extra money. And you know what to do with it. So you started buying stocks. Well, you put $1,000 in, and by the time it cycled through, you owned $800 worth of stock. And they told you, well, it's okay because you just keep doing this, and 800 times this will give you this much money. They don't tell you about the $200 times however much in the compounding, how much you lose. So everybody wanted a piece of this pie. These guys were going on to Wall Street, and they were like, listen, if you're a salesman, you don't even have to know about stocks. We just want to hire salesmen. 50% of Wall Street people in the 80s and 90s didn't know a goddamn thing about stocks. They just went, they got their fucking license, and they're like, are you a salesman? Yes. Remember that whole sell me this pen thing?
Sell me this pen.
That's kind of the shit that happened. It's like, can you sell shit? Can you convince people to give us their money? And make them seem like it's the best deal ever, but that they're not going to lose all this money. Yeah, sure. Boom, done. So all the people that were getting rich were on fucking Wall Street. It was a Wild West. It was the easiest fucking scam in the world. Well, we can't call it a scam because technically it was legal. That was it. So then, all of a sudden, people started saying, well, fuck this. I'm not putting my money out there. I'm going to start investing in housing. Rates had just come down after the 1970s when it was like fucking 17, 18%, right? Rates were down, and people were like, if I'm going to lose 20% of my fucking money right off the bat, I might as well do it with goddamn, in a goddamn house, okay? Or an apartment building or whatever. So we started seeing money move into that. Then 401k started getting some regulation, and then they brought down some of the management fees, but then mutual funds became a thing, and mutual funds were a fucking scam. Then annuities became a thing, and old people were getting scammed, but bonds were the most attractive back then, right? So real estate was one of the things, equities, but that was the rise of the bonds, the bond market. And so everybody started dumping their money in bonds, which obviously brought the rate down. So interest rates, bonds, whatever. My point was, I don't even know what my point was. Why did I start this? Oh, and so here's the thing. Back in this time, you wanted to work on Wall Street. Then in the early 2000s, you wanted to work in television, right? So let me tell you something. The 1% now, I'm not talking about the 0.1%. Those guys are billionaires that are getting rich from owning businesses and stuff like that. But do you want to know why? One of the reasons why so much more money is flowing into the 1%, because there's a lot more 1%ers. And I'll tell you one thing, I was doing some research a couple weeks ago, and I thought this was really cool. Back in the early 2000s, let's say 2005, right? Let's say you had a TV show, right? I know nobody had antenna, but just chill out for a second, okay? You had a TV show. Advertisers would go in, they would negotiate, so you had a sales team, right? And let's say the sales team at CBS, they're all making between 50 and 150,000, right? They're selling ad space. Then you've got your producers, your production. We'll just call it the production. And those guys are making anywhere from 25K to 500K. I don't know, whatever, depending on what they are. Then you have your executives, okay? And they're making 100K to 1 million. You've got your actors. And they're making, 200,000 an episode. And we could go on and on and on and on, right? And the money was coming from advertisers, right? So that's where the money was. So there was this big thing, and all of, let's say one episode brought in, I don't know, 1 million viewers, right? And advertising that paid, I don't know, 200, I don't know, fuck it, whatever. I'm thinking of a TV show, so not 200,000, but 50,000 per episode. There you go. So it brings in 250 grand per episode, or I don't know what the numbers are here. Let's say 400 grand an episode from advertisers. All right, and that money got spread out over all these people. They're not in the 1%. They're not. Most of them are not in the 1%. You got some 1%ers here. You got some 1%ers here. But it's a large amount of people here. Created a lot of jobs. Now you have the rise of YouTube, Twitch, etc., right? And now you have individuals who have none of that. There's no sales team, there's no production team, there's no agency for the actor, there's no they're bringing in, and they bring in 1 million views per video. Well, they may not get as much money as there was back in the day when sales teams were, because this was the only way to get ad revenue, so they had the power, right? The only way for your ad to get in front of a mass amount of people at the same time is to get on our network. We hold the power here. We have a lot of offers. Now there's a lot of things. They pay less, but there's less overhead. So now you have a lot more people making $500,000 per year as individuals, as opposed to all the people that were behind the scenes making much less. And it's so crazy to see that's possible, which obviously means less people are making more money, but there are more individuals making more money now because of the way this works. TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, podcasts. It's insane because now advertisers are spending less money because they have more options, but more individuals are getting it right off the bat. It's actually really, really cool. And I'm not trying to bring anything from this. I just think it's really, really cool concept that now we're kind of becoming more individual, owning our own, not means of production, because then we're like, oh, seize the means of production, Stocky. No, there's more individual ownership over these things. And it's actually crazy to think that we see the rung of society change so quickly, because now the entry barrier to investing, which is how I started this whole thing, has become insanely easy. And the entry barrier to getting to that level has expanded. There's more competition, but the entry barrier is not like it used to be, where you had to leave everything and go out to LA and become a waiter or waitress and make nothing and spend years reading shitty scripts and never getting a call back and being broke and finally going back to your small town with nothing but debt and becoming addicted to drugs, killing your spouse, going to prison and being killed in prison. And then that was it. And no one remembered you. But now you get to there's an entry barrier. You have a camera, you have talent, you just put it out there. And if you can put good stuff out there, I mean, look at me. You don't even have to have good quality. You don't have to know what the fuck you're doing. I am using a $40 fucking camera in the corner of my master bedroom. I look like I'm homeless and I have no production quality. I have no employees. And somehow I'm able to make a living doing this.